3, 2, 1.
What is up, everybody? This is Drew, and
this is Brad,
and this is the Unidentified Flying Podcast. Back after another kind of hiatus.
Summer hiatus.
Yeah, it was mostly my fault. Pretty much all my fault. But hey, whatever.
Actually, I'm busy too, dude.
Yeah.
My video game right now is life.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, we don't get paid to do this, so gotta make our hay somewhere else.
That's right.
So anyway, big topic today, Star Trek. There's a reason. Oh yeah, there's a big movie coming out. The third of a trilogy, I'm assuming. I'm assuming it'll be over after this. I'm just guessing. Unless this does gangbusters. I mean, if this does gangbusters, then you're like, okay, there'll be another with the same kind of group. But I have a feeling this might be...
They don't usually go past 3, and especially with the untimely death of Chekhov. Man.
Yeah, Anton
I don't think that
Yelchin. Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah. It's like just a freak accident.
Yeah.
Like...
Turn your car off, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess his car was off, wasn't it? But it was something like... he thought it was in park, but
I think it was running.
It was a defective thing with that...
Fuck, either way,
that
dude.
Jet, like, because I saw like a video where a guy was showing like, yeah, this is how the gear shifter works on this thing, and it was so weird looking the way that it wasn't. There wasn't a static spot for park, reverse, neutral, drive. It was you can only click your shifter forward one time.
Oh, and it just makes
and you hold a button.
Yeah.
And so if you hold the button, if you're in drive and you hold the button and click forward, you're in neutral. If you hit it again, you're in reverse, and then you're in park.
That sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah, so I guess he...
that might just be the old man in me, too. But,
yeah, I guess he clicked it and pushed it forward and thought he was in park, but he was actually in neutral, or I don't know. Again, I wasn't part of the crime scene investigation team there, and I wasn't even a crime, really, the accident investigation team, but I had heard it had something to do with that, and I saw a video where a guy was talking about, yeah, here's my Jeep Grand Cherokee, and look how weird this gear shifter is. But anyway, well, before we dive into too much here, let's get First Contact out of the way. I think I've remembered it after
so
all this
long,
time, yeah. So here we go.
Shit,
First
do I
Contact. These are our contact details.
I haven't been on Twitter. Like, I've just kind of, fuck the news. I mean, I hear enough of the news.
Yeah, and it's all bad news anyway. So.
Yeah, I've kind of just... I hate to take that stance, but... Fuck you, world.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, the world
got me
is...
again.
Pretty...
I'm going to go do whatever I want.
Yeah. Escapism is where it's at right now, I think.
I come and go. And I still do a lot of it anyway. It's kind of hard not to these days. But anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so contact details, ufppodcast@gmail.com, at UFP Podcast on Twitter, and Unidentified Flying Podcast on Facebook.
There you go. And I do have to mention, like I was saying, I don't really post anything, but I get notifications all the time, like our Facebook page is getting new views, so whoever the hell is out there keeps looking us up, thanks. I haven't put anything up, but I will for this episode.
Yeah, again, and like I said, all kidding aside, I'd love it if if we could make a living doing this. It's just and I'm not sitting here like, woe is me. I'm just saying sometimes, a week goes by and I'm like, damn, dude, I don't feel like doing a podcast.
Yeah,
like,
I'm just too busy here
God.
lately. I've been renovating my house, man. Fuck, dude. Like,
yeah, and I've just been working, so we'll try to hopefully. I hope this is kind of a summer lull.
Yeah,
and maybe we'll get back into more.
I'm more free in the winter anyway.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. I guess my schedule's constant. It's just my schedule kind of changed from what time of day my constant schedule, like where my free time was. So, not that we're talking to masses of people out there just clamoring for our content, but hopefully we'll be able to put more out in the not so distant future. Anyway, so Star Trek. You had we're not really going to talk much specifically about the new movies, I don't think. I think we're going to take, at least this is kind of what we've discussed, we're going to take the opportunity to go back. Because I think a lot of people generationally probably I'm assuming, haven't gone back and watched, these older movies, and they're all on Netflix, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's got Netflix.
If you're past a certain age, you have, but a lot of it's just, reason we're just doing that is like it's just such a broad franchise.
Sure.
There's how many shows?
It spanned how many years?
How many movies? Yeah,
from the 60s to present?
I mean,
so with a couple of lulls in between here and there.
We're working on a century here. Like we're climbing up the ladder.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with the original movies, which, in my opinion,
because you didn't really watch the original show.
No, I've tried to watch it before.
Them,
like I'll make this statement. I think The Next Generation was a better series than the original show. Now you could say, well, generationally, that's because you're a Gen Xer, that's why you think that. Well, I've gone back and tried to watch the original Star Trek. It's really corny. Yeah, it's hokey. Even now, people that were, my age or younger when they came out, I can understand having a nostalgic kind of, a feeling of nostalgia when you see it. But even those people who were big fans of it, I think almost 2-1 agree that or believe that The Next Generation was a better series.
Yeah,
it lasted longer.
Yeah.
You had more interesting story arcs and stuff like that.
Do more.
Yeah, it was, and hey, I mean, you got to give credit.
That's kind of where the rest of those shows came from afterwards.
Yeah, and you got to give credit to the original. It broke a lot of ground.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that was kind of the point of it. Like it got it out there. It had never been done before. It was interesting. Like you say, it's hokey.
It's where no man had gone before.
Yeah, it's hokey, but a lot of it's just that it's because Star Trek is such a technology-driven type of show.
Yeah.
Like I've given an example, like, I'm a Doctor Who fan, and a lot of people are like, that's the same thing. Doctor Who was way back in the 60s as well. And they're like, man, I can't watch this because it's just so stupid. But at the same time, like, that show's really about, like, so much, like, morality and ethics and that type of stuff. And, by the way, technology's in it. Star Trek is kind of the opposite. Sometimes it's like there's so much technology, and then they look at it from that point of view, and then think about the morality and the ethics and stuff. I mean, it's all related in a way, but like I can go back and look at like Doctor Who and be like, wow, even though this guy's like wearing a sock on his head with marker on it, trying to be a monster, it's the plot's deep. Star Trek, the original series, like. Sometimes the plot's not so deep. You know what I mean? Like, they're just... But sometimes it is, And that's kind of, I think, what a lot of people got on board with was the whole vision.
Well, and plus there was a lot of, sort of...
It's in the future, no less, too.
And there was a lot of iconoclastic things about, the original show for its time. I believe Star Trek had the first interracial kiss on TV.
Oh, yeah, it definitely was.
It tried to, it pushed a lot of, boundaries and broke down a lot of barriers and stuff like that. So,
and the whole,
like I said,
the showing, since it's in the future, this is what man could be. And all that type of
it was
stuff.
like, and it was based on the premise that mankind had gotten over all its interpersonal issues and was now like Earth was a united planet.
Now they got a whole another set of issues.
Yeah, we've got the Klingons and the Romulans to worry about, But anyway, I think the big, or not the big disconnect, but like the big statement that I make is The Next Generation was a better series than the original Star Trek. Yeah. However, the original cast movies were way better, in my opinion, than the Next Generation movies. Yeah. I am not a fan of the Next Generation movies. There's parts of them that I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, but I just think, by and large, they literally lost the fucking plot on what they were basing movies on. It was almost like all the movies were based on a TV show that the writers didn't watch.
Yeah, like if that show had never existed and they just made those movies...
Might be different, yeah.
I'm kind of like, I like it, but I would agree, like we were talking about the other day, like, they don't connect. It's like, it's almost it's two separate things, and you're like, who are these people?
Well, yeah, like, I mean, Picard is the biggest example. When you watch the series, you get a very good sense of what kind of character Picard is. And when I watch the movies, I'm going, who is this character? This isn't fucking Jean-Luc Picard, man.
Yeah.
This is like... They I don't know, all of a sudden when they go to the big screen, they were like, well, we've got to make him like, Action Jackson, dude.
Yeah.
We've got to have off-road adventures. We've got to have, explosions and jumps and thrills. And not that there weren't any of these things in the series, but Captain Picard was the ultimate fucking diplomat. Like, and you had a great actor to deliver great,
monologues
monologues and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that they needed to just have, like, no action whatsoever. But all the action was centered around Captain Picard. Whereas you had other cast members where you could center cool action on. Not that Captain Picard's like a fucking slouch. I'm not saying that he is. But that wasn't that character's wheelhouse. That wasn't his go-to, I'm a man of action. No, I mean, he was a man of principle.
Yeah.
And so you could have your action focused around characters like Worf, like Riker. Riker was more of a action man than Picard was in the show. You could have your action focused around Data because he's a fucking android who's got like, who can bend fucking steel beams in half and shit.
Yeah.
Not that he was an action first character, but he possessed all of these physical attributes. So to where you could focus some cool action on him. And not that Picard couldn't get involved in that action. It's just, that wasn't that character's go-to, that wasn't his go-to, whatever word I'm looking for. That wasn't his go-to character traits. I mean, it was, he would talk himself out of a situation as opposed to fight his way out of it.
And it's kind of like the opposite of what when we talked about doing this episode, like the original movies with Kirk, like he was kind of like that in the show, and then it just blew up even more in the
movies.
Movies, and they
Captain Kirk
not
was
just him, but the other characters too. Like you learned more about them. They built their own other characters and the relationships and things.
Captain Kirk was more of a action oriented character.
Yeah.
Not that he was a man of principle as well.
Oh yeah.
And he could deliver some good lines in my opinion. A lot of people, I've said this to you before, a lot of people bag on William Shatner. I don't really get it. I mean, it's all over the top and stuff.
I think it's a lot of his other stuff he did.
It could be, yeah.
Like where he's like, there's one where like he's sitting on a chair and he's like doing Rocket Man or whatever. You ever seen that? He's like, yeah, and he's not singing it. He's like talking it.
But isn't that
Rocket Man?
But isn't that just kind of like him, like embracing the mockery of him? That was like later in his career, wasn't it?
No, that was like in the 70s, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like all this trippy shit, like. He was like William Shatner, dude. He is kind of full of himself. But that aside, like I don't care. You know, like especially in the movies. He's awesome.
Yeah, and I think... and
there's always that nerd debate, like, which captain would you pick, and blah, blah, all that stuff.
I mean, it depends on the situation, man.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about the movies.
Yeah, and I think, the original cast, their movies could get away with a lot more, like... There was, like, I think the original show ran from 66 to 69. Mm-hmm. The first movie came out in 79. There was a 10-year gap there. So they had some freedom to kind of... I'm not saying like radically.
God, I thought it was like 80 or 81 for some reason.
No, I think the first movie was 79. Okay. I could be wrong.
Fact
check me. I don't know, but I believe it came out like right before Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. Like I think it was kind of with the success of Star Wars, they were like, "Hey, we could maybe do this Star Trek thing," and so they started making it, and then it came out in 79. But I could be wrong. I'm just guessing there.
It's around those few years if it's not.
Yeah, but. They could kind of take a little bit of liberty with characters to just kind of explain away, what happened these last 10, it's been 10 years. What happened?
Yeah.
What's this character been up to? We can kind of change things a little bit and kind of, slide in some motivations that maybe didn't have anything to do with the show or weren't in the show, but they didn't radically change the characters. However, you got to think.
They're just older.
Yeah, they were older.
Yeah.
And that was an issue that they talk about throughout most of the movies. It's mostly focused on Kirk. Yeah. Like growing old.
Yeah. He's an admiral. He's not a captain anymore.
Yeah, and he's like,
it's not his ship anymore. He comes in and this is the first movie, the motion picture. He comes in and he takes over the ship.
Yep.
That's a big, Bones does the same thing. They have to like pull his ass out of where the hell he was.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know? Spock wasn't even there, dude. He was
he was like on Vulcan, man.
Yeah, hanging out. Like, man, I'm gonna go.
He was trying to like
get some
purge
logic.
himself of emotion or something, and he was like, "Nope, can't do it. There's still something out there I got to do." But anyway, the Next Generation movies were like right after the series ended. Yeah. I mean, I can't remember what year this. I think it was like
94.
It was like 87 or 88.
Like the show ended like 93, 94, and like 94, 95 was the movie.
Yeah, and so with all of a sudden you take these characters like, I don't know. I don't want to get too specific, I guess, on the Next Generation movies because
I will get there. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Star Trek The Next Generation was from 87 to, I guess, 94. And so, yeah, 87 to 94. So that would have put, like, Generations. Let's see what year it was. 94. It was that same damn year.
Yeah.
And there's certain things in that movie where you're like, wait, you just totally... Anybody who watched the show who was a fan of the show, there were things about Generations that just made you go, who the fuck wrote this? They don't know these characters at all. And not that like there were so many characters that were just like, oh, this is such a deep, involved character. But no, it was simple things like, I'll just say, fuck it, I don't care. It was like, Captain Picard, if you kept up with the show, he was a big archaeology guy. Loved archaeology. They had several story arcs throughout the series where he was something to do with him in archaeology. And you had his mentor, this guy, I think it was like Dr. Galen or something like that.
He was kind of a greenhorn type of like, I'm not really good at this, but
I have a ton of interest in it.
Yeah, my spare time.
And he
nowadays what would be called an expert on TV.
Yeah. But his mentor brought him this like fabled like artifact and gave it to him as a gift, and in the show Picard was just so touched. He was like, oh my god, like I don't know what to say. You're giving me this piece of ancient history, man. Oh, thank you so much. And then the Enterprise crashes in Generations, and he's walking through his office and like he's kind of looking through the remnants of his stuff, and he picks up this thing that's still intact, and he's like, and just tosses it aside. And I'm like, wait, that was the fucking thing, dude. Yeah. Like, who wrote this? So anyway, and that's just one of the many problems I have with the Next Generation movies. But let's talk. And again, I think we're recording this on like the 12th of July, I think. So I think it's like 10 days. I think it's the 22nd that Star Trek Beyond comes out. So with all that said,
we'll do more Star Trek episodes.
Yeah. We got to talk about the series specifically too.
Dude. Yeah.
Not the original series, because I can't watch it. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
We just basically did.
Yeah, this was our podcast about the original Star Trek. Yeah. I just can't watch it. And again, I'm not bagging on it. I just can't do it. Anyway,
not much there.
Yeah,
I mean there is, but I don't want to shit on it. But
everything,
it is what it is.
Everything, my knowledge that I base on the original crew is all from the movies.
Yeah,
I know a couple of little things from the TV show.
Yeah.
But almost everything I know about it, the original crew is based on the movies.
Yeah.
So anyway, Star Trek the motion picture. A lot of people, I think, call it's just boring.
Well, it's kind of a product of its time. You know what I mean? Like, it's from, you were talking about, like, what year it came out. Like, that was the thing, dude. Like, a lot of 70s, early 80s movies. It's just kind of... let's be artistic. It was like long and kind of drawn out. I mean, that's kind of what, if you think about it, like that movie starts off, they get all those people together, like that we were just talking about, like Bones and Spock shows up finally. And right around then they have that wormhole sequence. Like, you can just tell, dude, that's like, hey, we got these cool effects now because we can do this. Let's do it. That's what that whole, that's just a complete waste of however long, 10 minutes.
And I think they definitely...
And it also shows something like Kirk takes over the ship, and, it's a big deal with the guy who actually had the ship, Decker, which is his name. I don't remember his first name. But he was the captain of the ship, and it kind of shows Kirk doesn't know shit about this ship anymore. Because you learn he's an admiral. He doesn't have the Enterprise anymore. I think the Enterprise is like been completely remodeled, redone. So it's kind of like he hasn't even been there for that. They basically spent 10-15 minutes to go, oh yeah, he doesn't know the ship. You're like, all right, finally, can we get to the fucking movie now?
There was definitely a huge departure from action.
Yeah.
There wasn't much of it in the movie.
It's a lot of them staring at a view screen, looking at V'ger.
It's a very atmospheric.
Yeah.
It's a very...
We got Technicolor and effects, and it's
a very dialogue-driven. Yeah. It's supposed to be weird. It's definitely embracing the exploring the unexplained and mystery.
It's kind of a big
like
episode,
that.
But at the same time, it's kind of a bigger deal because Earth is under
imminent threat.
Yeah, imminent threat, that type of thing.
And I think the premise was neat. Yeah, I think it was cool.
I don't mind.
And I don't want to ruin anything about it. I mean, granted, this movie did come out in 1979.
Yeah, you go back and watch. I mean, shit.
But it is on Netflix, so I hope that if anybody who does hear this who hasn't seen it now, going into it, it is going to be it is the most boring of the movies.
Yeah,
it's slow. The pacing's slow. It's very deliberate. I mean, what was it? You were kind of talking to me about it, and they spend God, dude, it feels like 10 minutes just doing the Enterprise reveal.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst one. Like, they do it in kind of all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kirk just flying up to the Enterprise.
With him and Scotty.
He hasn't seen it in a while. Dude, that's like 10, I don't know how long that is.
It's long.
It's just him having an orgasm, like, the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And I guess maybe if you were a fan of the original show, it might have actually meant more to you to see it like, oh man, there it is after 10 years.
We never just go and rewatch it and you're just like...
Yeah, it's way too long. Yeah. I get it. It's this fabled ship and everything. Yeah. I get it. That's great.
Get on it.
Yeah, are we on it yet? No, we're gonna fly. Okay, we're gonna fly. We're gonna fly over it from this angle so we can shoot it at this angle.
Coming back around.
And I was like, really? Scotty, come on, man. You're taking the scenic route, dude. Just fly up to the motherfucker and just park. So again, I like it. I think it's good. I do think it
got them back out doing a movie, apparently, and it was good enough to make another one.
Yeah. And I think it's on the lower end of it's not the worst one of the original crew.
No.
And I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think any of them are terrible movies. Now we'll pick apart one of them a bit.
Yeah,
but I
think it's a bad movie, but
I think though that I don't think the original crew had any movies that I was like, that's a piece of shit movie.
Yeah.
Next Generation's a different story, in my opinion, my humble opinion. But this movie, it's very slow. It's very... like I said, it's atmospheric. It's very focused on storytelling. There's a big mystery that they spend the whole movie kind of slowly picking apart. There's a long sequence with I can't remember the girl's name, the bald girl, where she gets basically taken over.
No,
I can't remember.
Shit.
I'll find it. But
if you hadn't asked, I probably could have told you. She was Delton. She's like an alien.
Yeah,
whatever the fuck that is.
I'll try to find her name
Lyanna,
really quick.
No, fuck, that's the Game of Thrones I'm thinking of.
Which we're gonna have to do an episode of.
Yeah, dude.
Ilya.
Okay.
We're gonna have to do apparently Decker, that's all he was called was Decker.
Yeah.
There is no last name listed here for him.
Maybe that was his last name.
I guess. Yeah.
Fred Decker.
Bob Decker.
Black and Decker, Captain of the Enterprise.
But yeah, we're gonna have to do a Game of Thrones episode sometime too because
shit's epic, dude.
Yeah, but anyway, so let's get beyond Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I think if you're somebody who hasn't watched them before, you at least got to give it a chance.
Oh yeah, you got to watch it through.
But
you're not. I mean, if you go to 2 and you don't watch 1, you're not missing anything.
You're not missing anything.
And that's different though. If you watch 3 before 2, and 2, that's different. But
which
this isn't.
Like you said, it kind of was successful enough for them to make another movie, and this is where I think they just hit the fucking home run.
Yeah.
Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. In my opinion, one of the best sci-fi movies ever made. It's my favorite.
It's definitely the best Star Trek.
Far and away my favorite Star Trek movie. there's so many things about it that still kind of, I think, still like the pop culture consciousness of at least the Western world still hangs around. And I think it kind of established this kind of running theme that Star Trek had for a while, where you had these like Shakespearean quoting villains, which I thought was cool. And Ricardo Montalban, dude, he came back as Khan, and that was a cool tie-in to the show.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't watch the show. I didn't know anything about this, but yeah, the whole Botany Bay and all that, like, it was a cool throwback to let's grab this character that was marooned by Kirk in the TV series years ago.
And what happened if...
Yeah, and he was like this genetically engineered superhuman, basically.
Yeah.
Super intelligent, super strong, all this stuff, but they were just so dangerous. That's what they always talk about in Star Trek in the past. They talk about the eugenics wars, the way that Star Wars talks about the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like, you had these eugenics, and mankind had a big war over eugenics. So eugenics was outlawed. You couldn't genetically engineer humans.
Yeah.
And apparently, I guess in Star Trek, the original show, Khan was one of these people. And so they all had like kind of maybe a predilection to...
I'm not mistaken, they were all... It's kind of like in, I think...
Yeah, they were like put in like stasis or something.
They were put in stasis and they come across them and they waking them up. And
and they like take over.
They play it all cool, like, oh yeah, thanks. And they're really like, oh, we'll fucking just kill you and take your ship. And
because they were kind of like all prone to like, megalomania and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're superior, you're inferior.
Yeah, and so we're gonna take you over. We're gonna dominate you. And so Kirk, back then outwitted him, outsmarted him and the crew.
Yeah.
And he left them on a planet that was a normal kind of inhabitable planet.
Yeah.
Well, apparently in the intervening years, something happened in that system that made that planet just a fucking wasteland.
Yeah.
And Kirk didn't check in on him,
gives a fuck.
He just was kind of like, oh, that's over and done with, turn the fucking page.
Yeah.
So you had this really cool motivation for the bad guy all of a sudden.
I think his wife died.
Yeah, his wife died on the planet. All kinds of his like followers died. And they were living in hell. I mean, it was like a barren wasteland where it was just a constant sandstorm.
I'm kind of wondering how did they live, but anyway.
Yeah, but they managed to survive.
Yeah.
And it was like you have this whole Genesis tie-in where they're looking for a planet to test this Genesis device on. And so Chekhov is part of some totally different crew. He's part of
science team.
Yeah, he's like he beams down with the captain to like check this planet out. And they encounter Khan. And Khan uses this bug or whatever to get in people's heads.
Which is just nightmares for so many kids of that generation.
But he basically gets up on this ship. I can't remember what the ship was.
Reliant?
It might have been the Reliant. No.
Yeah, that was
the Reliant. Maybe. Yeah, it might have been the Reliant. Yeah. But Chekhov is kind of cool. The moment where Chekhov realizes who this guy is, he's like, he sees because they walk into one of those like kind
of capsule or
like crew compartments or something. And he's
like Botany Bay.
And he's like Botany Bay.
That's what his original capsule was.
Yeah, exactly.
And
he's like thinking, the gears start turning. He's like, oh shit, we need to leave, dude.
Yeah, too late, buddy.
Yeah, and it's too late. But that whole there's so many awesome lines in that movie. Like, whenever he's, Khan's sitting there and he's like, the Enterprise is hailing us, and he's like, let them eat static. I'm like, I love that line, dude. And there's also
revenge is a dish best served cold.
Yeah.
That's an old Klingon.
Was like, from hell's heart I stab at thee.
Yeah.
I mean, there's and there's a cool, like, the whole let them eat static. There's a cool band that I like, or, I don't even know if there's still a band, called Eat Static. And I can only assume that it's them taking a piece of that. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many good things about The Wrath of Khan. Great acting, great motivations for all the characters. You really show off how Kirk is this man of action, and he's also an incredible strategist.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of a cool thing, like a cool difference between Kirk and Picard. Picard's, a great intellectual, a great diplomat. And Kirk is not necessarily that he's just like a terrible diplomat or anything, but he's a...
Dude, he's been on the frontier, man.
Yeah,
like,
he's
had to deal with
and he's a
shit.
tactician.
Yeah.
He can look at he's more of an action combat tactical guy.
Yeah.
And I think it shows in a lot of the things that he does in this movie and the movies going forward is the differences between the two are pretty clear. They both are men of principle though, but Picard is more eloquent in his kind of statement of what his principles are, how he stands on them. Because I think, it's kind of funny because you never really hear about the Prime Directive until The Next Generation. Mm-hmm. I think the Prime Directive is something like a guy like Kirk would just be like,
fuck it.
Yeah, fuck the Prime Directive, dude. I'm going to do what I think is right.
Yeah.
And if that violates the... That's why, they didn't... I know I can't remember anything from the movies about a Prime Directive. Even when they go back in time, they don't even talk about a Prime Directive.
Yeah.
There was was it the Temporal Prime Directive that they, I can't remember what shows that was into, maybe Voyager and stuff like that, where they actually had a department of Starfleet that dealt with time occurrences or incursions and stuff. But anyway, Wrath of Khan, best Star Trek movie.
It's just got a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, and it's got a great fucking duel. It's
got the duel. It's got like a lot of,
and I mean a starship duel.
Yeah, starship fights. The actual just the characters, all that stuff.
And the Genesis thing is a pretty cool thing. I think that whole notion is pretty cool. Like this kind of rapid terraforming.
They could shoot a missile at a shithole planet and
turn it into a utopia. Yeah.
But the worry was what if you shot it at a place that was already a utopia? It would completely just destroy the fucking place and remake it.
Yeah. Now, how much? Yeah, how which will come into play later. How destructive of a weapon could that be? Yeah. Which comes into play later because this Star Trek II is the start of a trilogy.
Yeah.
That exists within those original crew movies. Star Trek 2, 3, and 4 are literally 3 picks up where 2 left off, 4 picks up where 3 left off. Everything before, 2 picks up sometime after 1. It's an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
And then 5 picks up an indeterminate amount of time after 4. So anyway, but my question is, how much are we going to spoil these at all? Do we care? I mean, these movies have been out for 30 plus years.
Well, I mean,
because we haven't talked about the big.
Good job.
We haven't talked about one of the big events of Star Trek II.
Well, what is it? What are you talking about?
Spock.
Oh yeah. Well,
the
third one's called Search for Spock.
Okay. So all right.
Guess what? He dies.
Yeah. Now.
Well, air quotes.
Yeah.
He dies in it.
Which I thought was cool. I rewatched it recently, and the amount of foreshadowing to his death I didn't realize there was that much.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of neat that they did that, because even still with it, I don't think I would have called that Spock was going to be, because they have that whole quote, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
Yeah, and it's a whole, Kirk can't deal with, death and unwinnable situations.
Because it starts out with the whole Kobayashi Maru thing with, was it Kirstie Alley as Saavik trying to do that test.
It's basically a simulator where you have to go in and lose.
Yeah. They're gauging how you deal with defeat.
Yeah.
And Kirk's the only person apparently who ever beat it.
Yeah.
Which they reveal later. I don't think it's until... Do they reveal it in that movie? I think they do.
Yeah, they reveal. Yeah.
That he cheated, basically. He went in and changed the parameters of the test into the program. And they actually gave him a commendation for inventive thinking, because he was like, well, his whole thing was, I don't believe in no-win scenarios. Well, he encounters... Here's the thing. It's not exactly a no-win scenario.
Yeah.
Because they do make it. They beat Khan, they survive, but one of his close buddies dies.
Yeah.
Has to sacrifice himself for that to happen. And that's something that Kirk had never dealt with really before. He's dealt with death and stuff like that, but he never dealt with such a close friend dying, not only dying, but dying under his command in the line of duty, saving his ship and crew.
Best friend.
Yeah. I mean, basically his two best friends are like Bones and Spock.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's a cool dynamic,
and that's the end of the movie. Like,
yeah, and you're just like,
kind of like, fuck.
Yeah, so I wonder how things. I would be curious because hell, I was so young back then. I was like, hell, when that movie came out, I think I was like 2.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I wonder how it was received back in the day. Like if it was just like Star Trek, people were like, "No, you motherfuckers!" Yeah, they were like,
"We're making another movie," you know.
But did they tell them? Did they say no?
Yeah, I mean,
Spock's gonna.
I think that's how shit worked back then, man. You're like, "Oh, we tease this movie," and that's what.
But how long did they have to wait?
I don't know. That's the whole point, you know. I like for instance, I watched that shitty Godzilla movie the other day, the one from the '90s, and it's
with Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, it's a horrible movie. Like, it's an okay movie. It's just not a Godzilla movie.
It's bad. It's just bad.
But you gotta think the whole problem with it was like there was no internet, and it was all about building up. You didn't know what Godzilla looked like. I remember that was a thing.
Yeah.
And they made ads like, "Oh, you see his tail?
Yeah.
There's his foot. What is it?" And like you just build that shit up.
But I guess what I'm saying is I just wonder how long they made the Star Trek people
6 months, a year.
I'm just curious how long they let that hang out there with like how much fan backlash there
and you
might
gotta
have
think
been.
like they might have like not let them hang, but they're just like, "Hey, we're making another movie," and like that might have been it. That's all you know, and you're just like,
yeah.
Well, is it this? Is the Matrix really, you know, like that's what people do, dude, you know, like.
Yeah, and I guess, like you
speculate.
said, whenever the title of the movie came out, you knew, okay, Spock's not gonna, because it's like you said, Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, which picks up pretty much right after
So I'm like, we know where he's
Wrath
at,
of Khan. Yeah. And, you have Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown.
Yeah, Doc Brown's a Klingon.
A good Klingon. I thought he did good.
Yeah.
He's a pretty ruthless Klingon, dude.
Yeah,
I thought he was a very like, I'm just gonna kill you. You're dead. I'm not playing. Seriously, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna kill somebody here. Yeah, we'll kill that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought so. I thought he did a good job. He wasn't a Shakespearean quoting villain.
Just
although Ricardo Montalban was. So that was your first appearance of that. Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, you had in the second one, you had Kirk's son, David, introduced, as well as his mother, who wasn't married to Kirk, but it was like, her and Kirk had some relationship back in the day, and Kirk had a son he didn't even know about.
I think he did, but it was just like...
Well, no, he didn't know.
Yeah, he knew.
No, because he told her, there's a part of the movie where he's like, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, what were you gonna do? Like, stop gallivanting around the galaxy?
Yeah, but he's also like, you asked me to stay away. So I did.
Yeah,
and
but
she was like, I wasn't gonna bring him up in a world where...
Yeah, I don't think he knew. I'm pretty sure
he knew a little bit. Like, I think he knew he had a son. I just didn't... I think he was saying that, like, he didn't know that was him. Like, oh shit, that's my son? Like, I think he knew he had a son, but he's like, I didn't know. This guy David, that's my son? Holy shit.
No,
I think that's the disconnect.
No, I think it was he just did not know at all.
He knew. He knew.
I'm gonna look this up right now. He just
didn't know anything about him. He didn't know what he looked like. He didn't know who the fuck he was. And he had been, he brought David up.
Well,
or they were kind of hanging there with him, and she's like he said, he's like, holy shit, that's him.
Yeah, I guess they're saying that he was just asked to stay out of his.
Yeah, and she was just like, I knew
avoid his upbringing,
and that wasn't gonna fucking fly with being a mother and raising a kid. So
yeah, fair enough. I did not realize that.
Because I remember watching that scene, and I kind of thought the same thing, and I was like, oh, it's just because, like I said, he just isn't. He didn't physically know, like, that dude right there standing next to me a minute ago was my son.
Yeah,
because he's like, I think that's something else Kirk said. He's like, that's David?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, like, she didn't tell him that it was... Okay, yeah, okay, fair enough. Anyway,
Either way, he didn't know shit about him, But he's introduced, and he's in the next movie. And that's something I didn't really like about the third one, where it's like, they bring that whole Genesis thing back. They've got to go back to that planet, because that's where they left Spock in the Wrath of Khan.
Well, they go back there
his
because
body.
that's where David and Savick are.
Yeah.
They're studying it.
Yeah. But they
They're
don't.
studying
But
the
they didn't
planet.
know. They didn't know Spock was there.
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
they come across him and they're like,
that's why they
oh,
beam down.
shit.
They're studying the planet.
Yeah, they find that life form. They're like,
And they're like,
what the
let's
fuck?
go down and check it
Yeah.
out. It's kind of what led.
Why they go down there? Their ship gets destroyed.
Yeah.
And Kirk and them are coming back for completely different reasons. Like they're just looking for Spock's body because they've had there's a whole story related to like basically how they bring Spock back to life.
Yeah, it's the whole what's his face, Sarek.
Yeah,
Spock's dad comes to Kirk and like basically puts him on.
He's like, "Yo, bro."
Yeah, like basically like reads him the
supposed to
riot
be-
act. He's like, "Where the fuck, man? Like, where's his Katra at, dude?
Yeah.
You failed him, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you just like blasted his ass off into space, and you don't have his spirit, his soul."
Yeah.
And Kirk's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude?" And he's
Yeah,
like,
dude,
"Man,
like,
I don't. If there was something I was
I'm a
supposed to know,
human."
he never told me."
Yeah.
And they find out that right in Wrath of Khan, which is a cool part, because I'm sure back in the day people were like, what the fuck did happen there? Right before Spock goes into that that room that's like fucking irradiated to all shit, he does the Vulcan fucking nerve pinch or whatever, the neck pinch on fucking Bones.
Yeah.
And he like puts his, like does like a quick little mind meld and he just says, remember.
Yeah.
And he like goes inside there and dies. Well, Bones starts acting like Spock at times and like even breaks into his quarters on the Enterprise and Kirk's all like, what the fuck's going on in here? And it's like he sounds like Spock and he's in the dark and stuff and so they basically figure out that Spock basically put his soul, his spirit into Bones. So they need to, like, Kirk's like, basically Sarek's like, dude, you need to, if you want to honor your friendship with him, you need to do two things. You need to go get his soul, and you need to take it to his body. And Kirk's like, word. So Kirk's like, I'm gonna bust, like, people out of jail, I'm gonna take shit over, I'm gonna steal the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And that's why they have,
like, you can't go back.
Yeah.
You're not allowed. It's quarantine zone. Stay the fuck away. Which, that kind of goes back to what I was saying, like, there's something I didn't like. Is, in the second movie, they build this whole Genesis thing up. It's fucking amazing. It's perfect. It works. We've seen that. They go into that, they're kind of stuck in a cave it was kind of like a test thing.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
Well, in the third movie, they're like, David, the guy we were talking about a minute ago, Kirk's son, his mom's not in the third one.
No.
But he is. And he's like, well, guess what? I fucked up. It doesn't work.
Well, it's like, what is it? He
used some proto some kind of
something like illegal,
some kind of illegal, maybe
because it's unstable,
frowned upon substance, and that's why it doesn't work. I'm like, but it worked in the movie before, like.
Yeah, and plus
I don't get it, but that's just kind of a loose thing that I was like, I didn't really.
Yeah, and the impression was given in the second movie that while David was a big part of the project, his mother was actually the head person.
Yeah, he was just some.
He
was
it was like
her kid that was kind of like second in command.
Yeah, it was him and his mother. It was like their big idea, but the mother was the one who was like the foremost expert on it.
Yeah.
And he was a big expert on it too, don't get me wrong, but it seemed like if there had been some sort of shortcut taken.
Of people, dude.
Yeah, but it was like it like if
he fucked up.
It seemed like she would have been.
Yeah.
She would have known about it, or maybe he did it under behind her back or something. I don't know, but. They, when they basically, the whole point is this planet's unstable. It's basically rapidly going through the life cycle of a planet. Yeah. And it went from like, this
proto-planet to, it's about to blow up.
Yeah. Like it went through this, like it peaked at this moment of like everything's great and okay, now everything's falling apart.
Yeah.
We've got to get off this fucking planet.
I honestly don't care for 3 too much.
I like 3.
I mean, I like it enough, but...
And I think it's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? A lot of people could say, man, that's kind of weak. You kill somebody off and you bring him back.
And that's what that whole movie
was
about.
That's why I think I'm okay with it, because the whole movie was about bringing Spock back.
Yeah.
So I was like, they didn't just like throw away and be like, oh, Spock's back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did this. No, they actually were like, no, we spent a whole movie about, like, all about bringing Spock back. And you could
And
pick
some
it
other
apart.
things happen, like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. There's
Another spoiler: David gets killed.
yeah.
The Enterprise,
He has to blow up the Enterprise.
that Enterprise gets blown up. So that's another thing where you're just like, that movie ends. You're like, oh no, the Enterprise is gone.
Yeah.
Forever.
That was the first time that happened, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so that movie happens,
And they
you're
didn't
like,
do it
fuck.
again after that, I don't think. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think. Because the next movie...
No, that version of the Enterprise, no.
Yeah, that's what, so it's like the first time I think the Enterprise had ever blown up, and it's the first time the original crew, the only time they ever blew up the Enterprise.
Yeah.
So that I can, I don't know what happened in the show. Maybe some shit happened in the show. I don't know. I'm just talking.
Previous Enterprises, I could get nerdy and go into that, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. But so that was the third movie, which goes right into. So basically, they end up at the end of the third movie. They end up on the Klingon ship.
Yeah, they've got a little ship now.
They've got this bird of prey that can cloak and all that kind of stuff.
They take fucking Spock back to Vulcan. They get shit mixed.
You get the impression
together.
that they're going to have to spend quite a while on Vulcan too, because they have to fix this
Everybody
ship
has
up.
their hugs.
Yeah, and
Spock's back, yay!
And he's kind of a little kind of disconnected, Spock, more so than usual.
He's working it out,
Yeah, because he's his soul's been reunited with his body and all that, so he's kind of like,
that can happen.
I know you, right? You're my friend, right? Which
that's another kind of loose plot point where they go down to find out that this life form is Spock on this planet, and this Genesis ship basically regenerated his body. Kirk doesn't know that. Sarek doesn't know that. So they're going back. With it's just
I think Kirk knows that at that point that's how it happened.
They're just like, he's just trying to get back, and they show up there and they're like, there's supposed to be this science vessel. It's not there. The Grissom.
Yeah.
It's not there. And then...
Well, I think they're expecting to find his body. Just his body, but I think...
I guess, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's
because
just
Saavik tells him, she's like... She tells him whenever he calls and talks to her on the planet, she's like, I'm here with David.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what were they going to do? Put his soul in a dead body? You see what I'm saying? Like, was it just happy circumstance?
I guess it was like, it was part of like some kind of Vulcan ritual, I guess, that they were going to do, I guess.
And just
I see what you're saying. Like, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, does that mean that every Vulcan who died, like, died in a starship explosion, that they're just fucked?
On somebody and...
Well, I mean, are they just fucked? Is it just like, you died out there in space, like in a starship explosion, you're gone.
Yeah.
So, this terrible, unthinkable thing that pissed off a Vulcan.
Yeah.
Who knows how many Vulcans you'd think they'd never even, like, venture away from. If it was such a terrible thing for it to happen to them, to not be able to put their soul to rest like that, why would they even chance venturing into
That's kind of why, like, I just, like, that, like, it's a good movie. I just don't... I'm like, cool. We got Spock back.
Yeah.
I don't really care for the Klingons in it.
I thought
they're okay.
I was okay with the Klingons. I thought that was kind of like a nice beginning to what the Klingons are now.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
they're really
prior
not in
to
it
that,
too much later. They are a little bit.
They're not in
movies.
Yeah, they show up again big time in the last one.
Yeah,
and we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
So you leave there. You've got that movie ending. They're in the Klingon bird of prey. They go back to Vulcan. And Spock kind of comes back, and then it basically just kind of ends, I think.
And then you go into the fourth one, and the fourth movie is called Voyage Home, which I'm like, which are they going back to Earth?
Yeah,
it's that classic. We're time traveling back to whatever the show you're watching. It's going to present day Earth, or just America, and they will now have to cope with that.
Which, I think it was kind of bold of them to... That movie is wrapped in a lot of politics.
Yeah, a lot of
just the general premise.
Shit, save the whales.
Yeah, that was a big thing back in the 80s, was Save the Whales.
Yeah, Save the Whales.
And this was like a big PSA for Save the Whales.
Yeah.
And again, you know what? I could complain about that, but at the same time, the movie was so much fun that...
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with saving the whales. I'm not meaning to sound like that. I don't think we want to hunt anything to extinction. So I'm not trying to act like I've got a big fucking axe to grind with.
Did we suddenly save them?
I kind of also have a thing like I like to go watch movies like Star Trek and stuff to escape from the fucking stupidity of real life, which is hunting whales to fucking extinction is retarded.
Yeah.
But
what a way to start a movie, though, man. Some aliens show up, and they're looking for humpback whales.
Yeah, it turns
out... to.
Yeah. It turns out
they're not there.
Yeah, because we did apparently hunt them to extinction. And, yeah, that was kind of
it just happens that Kirk and them are just like, yeah, we're going to go home because we got Spock patched up. Let's go home. Holy shit, their Earth is under attack yet again because these aliens can't find their humpback whales.
Yeah.
Let's go back in time.
And let's do it
to save them and bring them some humpback
Superman style shit by flying around the sun so fast. Although Superman flies around the Earth so fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, they slingshot around the sun and reach some particular speed. I don't know. I guess it's like
88 miles an hour. I guess.
Yeah. Dude. And was it 1.21 gigawatts? I guess or whatever they got it is. Yeah. So they hit that, which would have made more sense if Doc Brown would have been in that movie.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Oh, shit.
They were in Doc Brown's Klingon ship, though. So, you know what? Makes sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
He might have put a
flux capacitor in there, man. Yeah.
Think about that.
So, they go back in time to present day at the time, which is like 1986 or
I think,
something. Yeah. The fourth movie is by far the campiest movie, but it works.
Yeah,
it works well. Everybody gets really cool moments too. You have Uhura and Chekhov going after the nuclear vessels.
Yeah,
you have Scotty and Bones going after the. They need all that
transparent aluminum.
Yeah, the whole transparent aluminum thing. You have
what the fuck is that?
Spock and Kirk interacting with the lady who is like kind of runs that part of the aquarium or whatever. They've got those two humpbacks.
Yeah. Plus, Kirk's trying to get laid like always.
Yeah, but he kind of holds off on that though. There's they never.
No, yeah, he does. But he's got.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. She's not a bad looking lady, so he's kind of like, hey.
Spock's like, fuck it, I'll go swim with the whales.
Yeah. I mean, I think I always think of that movie, and I always think that the part that I don't know what it is. I just laugh the most at is towards the beginning when they first go back to Earth in the past, and they're crossing that street, and that taxi cab almost hits Kirk, and he's like,
"Double dumbass."
Yeah,
the guy's like, "Dumbass."
He's like, "Well, double dumbass on you."
Yeah,
I always laugh at that. I don't know what it is. It's just funny to me. And like Spock kind of starts trying to use he's like, as he calls them, more colorful metaphors, and Kirk's just kind of like, "Stop, dude, just stop. Don't. You don't need to be using those."
There's that guy with the beatbox on the back. He's like, "Man, it's too fucking loud." I'm so
yeah. Spock's just like, nerve pinch, neck pinch. And there's some really cool parts of that. I mean, it's it's a fun movie.
They save the whales in the end,
and they save the Earth.
Kumbaya.
Yeah,
everybody gets to go home. They go back to their own time,
and they bring her with them, which was kind of that normally doesn't happen in movies.
Oh, that's something else. Like they kind of got in trouble. Because, the previous movie, they had to steal the ship to go get Spock. Oh no. Wrists were slapped.
Yeah, well,
they come back, they save the Earth, so they're like, we'll demote you, but we'll give you the newest Enterprise.
Yeah, they basically tell him, like, we're gonna like wipe out all the charges except one, and just for you, Kirk, because all these people are acting under your command. We're busting you down from admiral to captain.
He's like,
and Kirk's like, yes. And we're gonna give you the new Enterprise that we've been apparently building, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's done.
Bam.
Here you go. And yeah, so whatever. There's some convenience there, but I thought one of the neat things is that normally when you have these interactions between the future and the present and past, they always have to have this bittersweet goodbye where, they leave. Like, you can't come with me to the future.
Yeah, they take the lady with them.
Yeah, well, she's like, Kirk's like, hey, they do that where Kirk's like, you gotta stay here. I gotta go back to the 23rd century.
And she like jumps on the ship or something.
Well, she jumps as he's about to start transporting. She jumps on him and she's like, surprise. and she's on the ship, and Kirk's at that point just kind of like, well, we ain't got no fucking time. Fuck it.
Yeah.
He's like, go
Guess
stand
what?
over there.
We're about to take off.
Yeah, and so he's just like, so she goes back with him, and I was kind of like, that's cool. She
had
goes,
a pretty good explanation too. He's like, hey, no one this time knows shit about these.
Yeah, she's kind of like, yeah, I'm the paramount expert on
Yeah.
humpback whales, and he's kind of
So
like,
she's like, peace.
yeah. And she's like,
You're like, all right, cool.
she's like, yeah, I'm due to go to this science place, man. I'll see you around. What was she like? See you around the galaxy or something? And he's like, all right, see you later. So that ends the trilogy of Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, Voyage Home. That is one big contained storyline, where one picks up right after the other.
Then they go into this next shithole of a movie.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think it's too bad? I don't care.
Well, I don't think it's a piece of shit.
That's something to bring up. Like, we go into this next movie. We just said they get a new ship in the fourth one.
Yeah.
Why is it broken? Like, it's so fucking broken that nothing works on it. Like, that's what they're doing, right? Like,
maybe is this one? Maybe is it right after?
Yeah, because remember, like, maybe it's a quadrilogy. I don't know. I don't know, dude. Like I don't really get. Like, they act like they're in Starbase for servicing, and while they're there, you see Spock and Bones, and they're there with Kirk, and they go camping because they're supposed to be on leave.
Yeah,
because the ship's getting fixed.
Yeah,
I'm like, is it getting fixed or is it getting like?
You're
built,
right.
See, that's why I'm like, what the fuck? Or, and time could have gone on, and then they were coming back, and they're getting fixed from something else. I don't know.
That's
true.
true.
See what I'm saying? You're kind of like, what the fuck? It's just it's an okay movie. Like, to me, what I don't like about it is, one, it's a huge letdown at the end. Another thing is, like, all the characters are in it, but it's mainly just Kirk, Spock, Bones.
You're right.
Like,
and
Sulu's in it, but he's just kind of like, hey, I'm here in a few scenes.
And to a lesser extent, Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty too.
Because Scotty was always kind of like the fourth one, just on the outside of that whole little main group of the... Mm-hmm. Like, if you had to tell me who are the main characters of Star Trek, I'd be like, Kirk, like you said, Kirk, Spock, Bones. Then like, who's next? I'd be like, Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty, usually if you go through the movies... The fourth one, as far as screen time, and Chekhov are kind of...
They're just like right there. Like,
yeah.
They're like they're part of the team, but like they're no one's above the other. They're just...
Yeah, like I think above them would be Scotty with the amount of screen time he gets as a character, typically.
Yeah.
But so the fifth one, I agree. It's the weakest of them. I agree. It's the one William Shatner directed, which, by the way, I think we should say that Search for Spock was directed by... Leonard Nimoy, and so was The Voyage Home. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who directed 2. that is something I found out, actually, which we'll get to that in a second. Okay. But anyway, so you have, it's Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. The big story arc here is Spock has a brother, apparently, and his name is Sybok. And
who's a born-again Christian.
Yeah, who's basically, so...
And he's wanting everybody to get saved.
Yeah.
And it's not that, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And so it's...
They're not even on the Enterprise. Like I said, the three main people, they're camping.
Yeah.
Trying to get away from the fucking Enterprise because that's what they want to do, At least Kirk. And...
Yeah,
they get the call, hey, guess what? There's some kind of problem. And it's basically from...
this Paradise City.
Yeah, it's from Spock's brother. He's doing some shit on it,
Which he, basically takes over this Paradise City place that's supposed to be this... where the humans, the Federation, the Klingons, and the Romulans have, this city on some planet where they're supposed to... It's supposed to encourage good relations between the three of them. And Sybok...
Looked like a shithole.
Yeah, it looked like a shithole, yeah. And they basically are all kind of like, welcome to paradise.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. Why would they pick the shittiest,
I don't know, dude.
It doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
Kind of like the movie.
Yeah. So, Sybok comes and he's basically he can basically convert people to his cause. And...
Immediately.
Yeah, almost immediately, because he's like, let's talk about your pain.
Yeah.
And... that's kind of the big crux of the movie is the unbreakable bond between Kirk, Spock, and Bones.
Yeah.
Where most of the movie, which is a funny part, Scotty's unconscious because, he delivers that line, like, I know this ship like the back of my hand, and then he turns around and, like, knocks himself out by running into something. So he's unconscious for, like, the whole fucking movie just about. There's some cool lines in it, like, I like the part where, Cybok comes in and he basically, like, goes after Spock, and it looks like maybe he got Spock, he turned Spock, and then, like, he goes to Bones, and maybe he turned Bones. And, like, when it comes to it, they're both kind of like, yeah, no. Like Spock's kind of like, you don't know, like, you knew me back, years ago. I've come to accept, my past and everything.
The shit you're trying to pull on doesn't matter.
He was like, yeah, he's like, I'm okay. I'm okay with it. And Bones is more about to fucking turn, and I think it's like Kirk or something is like, Bones, and he's like, oh. Yeah, my bad, sorry. But I thought one of the cool parts was when he tried to do this shit on Kirk, and Kirk was like, no, dude, fuck off.
You.
He's like, that's my pain. That's mine, dude. I want it. I need it.
Yeah.
He's like, it makes me who I am, dude. I thought that was kind of a cool part.
You don't need to talk about shit, Dr. Phil.
Yeah. He's like, get out of here, man. And the part when they basically, the whole premise is they're going to the center of the galaxy to find God.
God, yeah.
And when they get there...
Shakari.
Yeah, Shakari, yeah.
How does it, going back, how does the fuck does he know that it's there? Do you hear about this from somebody?
I think it's like
Was he in a bar somewhere?
I think it's been able to reach out to him and, like, communicate with him on some subconscious level or something. That's the impression I got.
Okay. I haven't rewatched it.
But I thought the coolest line from the whole movie is when Kirk's like, "What does God need with a starship?"
He's like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, he's kind of like, "Wait," yeah, because he's like, that's exactly what he's like. He's like, "Excuse me, 1 second here."
Everyone's having their fucking heart to heart with God.
And Kirk's kind of like, "I call bullshit." So,
and that's kind of the big thing with the movie. It's the final frontier. It is them going to the unknown still. That's the part they go through that to find God, and it's this place they thought nobody could go, and they kind of look down.
They're going to meet their maker.
Yeah, they go down and they see this thing, and then it's like this plaque they've got on the ship where it's like a ship wheel, and it's like, hey, where no man has gone before. The big deal about fucking Star Trek.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. But then they get down there and they're like, oh yeah, guess what? He's not God. He's just some asshole. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Some entity, yeah. And they're like, all right, let's bail. Movie. Yeah, and I think it's kind of...
It's just kind of like a big episode, like, hey...
the premise is cool. I think the premise is really cool. It was just executed poorly.
Yeah.
But I don't think it breaks with many... I don't think... That's the thing. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I just don't think it's all... If I had to rate that on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say it's like...
I just don't like it.
It's personally. like a 4.5. It's below average.
Yeah.
But it's, I would rate the motion picture like
you made a Star
average.
Trek movie. High five.
Yeah.
But so
then in my opinion they end on a high note, which is in my opinion the second best Star Trek movie ever made.
The title of the movie Shakespearean, dude.
Yeah, The Undiscovered Country, man. So Star Trek 6 The Undiscovered Country, which I was going to say when we were talking about directors, same director as Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
Nicholas Meyer. So, right. Nicholas Meyer, you did the two best Star Treks, in my opinion. Not that he'll ever hear this, but both of those
A lot of good
movies.
actors in that one, too.
Oh, yeah. Christopher Plummer. Another Shakespearean quoting villain.
You gotta think that I can't remember the head Klingon guy that gets murdered in the movie.
Oh,
he was in 5. He was in The Final Frontier.
Was he?
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of those people that was on Paradise City or whatever. Same dude.
Huh.
Can't remember his name. He's the bad guy in Tron. If you know what I'm talking about.
You talking about the guy that was like the president of the Klingons?
Yeah, no. Not the president. The president, that's Red from That 70s Show in Undiscovered Country.
No. He's the Federation president.
He's the Federation. Okay,
yeah.
He's the president of the Klingons or head of the Klingons or whatever.
You're right.
He's on that
ship.
You're right. They murder him.
Yeah, he's the
frame Kirk.
Yeah, he's the Federation representative in Paradise City in 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I can't remember that guy's name.
David Warner.
There you go. He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, just hell of a, there's so many good things about the movie.
Brock
goes back to Wrath of Khan.
Brock Peters is in that, man. Cisco's dad. Guy who plays Cisco's dad. There he is right there. That guy. He plays the guy he's
right.
the admiral.
Yeah, who's kind of in on it.
Yeah, he's in on the whole thing, yeah. So yeah,
It's like I was about to say, Wrath of Khan. It's got a little bit of everything. It's like great characters, great acting.
Yep.
It's great starship battles. That Shakespearean fucking.
And you got
bullshit.
Sulu. This was kind of cool. Sulu's
that's right.
Sulu's got his own ship now.
That's how the movie starts.
Yeah, he's on the Excelsior.
He's like, man, I'm captain, bitch.
Yeah. Which the Excelsior, if you remember, was from Star Trek 3.
Yeah.
It was the one that was in Space Dock. There was like the new big bad like model that they were like, this thing's got transwarp drive.
Yeah.
Well, Scotty had been over there helping him out, and he basically sabotaged it. So, but here it is now. And I think it was that movie where Sulu says, I think it was Search for Spock, where he's like, I like the Excelsior. Like, he's like, I want that.
Yeah, he's like, hell of a ship.
Yeah, he's like, man. And then like, here they are all these years later, and bam, Sulu's like
Christian
Captain.
Slater wakes him up.
Yeah. I was like, what the hell?
Captain, got a fucking situation.
Starfleet is sending emergency, blah, blah, blah. But Sulu's there in the clutch, dude.
Yeah.
So, because he's like just trying to hightail it to make it to this place at the end of the movie where Kirk's going. He's like, yeah, dude,
I like
we'll
those
be
little
there.
cameos like the old movies have. Like, there's just like that random actor that you only see in like a scene or two, like Christian Slater.
Yeah.
Like
before they were famous.
Yeah, like in Search for Spock. I can't remember this guy's name, but I always remember him from Hot Shots Part 2, and he's like, "War, it's fantastic." That guy, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Shit, he's got. I think he's got like a kind of a Spanish name. He's on the Excelsior. He's the guy driving as the captain tells him like, "Hey, hit trans warp drive." He's like the dude.
Oh, he's in RoboCop.
Yeah, he's RoboCop. That's
Miguel Ferrer.
Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I love that guy.
Right there, dude. He's
Hell
like only in it for a scene. He's like, yeah, cool, hit this button, you know. See you later.
He's like, I gotta leave now. I gotta go be a total asshole in every movie I ever do from now on. Which, actually, I thought he was one of the best characters in Twin Peaks, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because he starts out as a total dick, man.
Yeah,
And then, like, I don't know.
Fuck everybody.
But then he's kind of like, you know... I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into that.
I forgot
but
he was in
he's
that.
a cool character.
He's probably one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, man. I can't remember his character's name, but he's
just like, fuck these backwoods motherfuckers.
That's exactly what he's like. He's like, you called me up to the back of beyond.
Literally, he's
with
not even like
yokels.
sugarcoating it.
Yeah. So anyway, Undiscovered Country is basically a big bad event happens with the Klingons where it's basically 50 years the Klingon homeworld's going to be uninhabitable because of this disaster on one of their moons.
They've always been at war with the humans, Federation.
And the Federation's trying to use it, and so are the Klingons, to use it as a reason to bury the hatchet and end their war.
Yeah, because they kind of fucking have to.
Yeah, and there's, parties that are dissenting on this, and whenever they have they have like, that's one of the cool parts of the movie is having all the Klingons over, what is it? I can't remember who it is. Was it Chekhov where he's like, guess who's coming to dinner?
Yeah.
And it's the fucking Klingons coming over to the Enterprise for dinner. And it's really awkward and everything. And
they don't get along culturally.
It's just like, we're so fucking different. Yeah. But they go back to their ship, and then some people beam over, kill the fucking Chancellor, and like a couple of his
Kirk
other
gets
people.
framed for killing him.
So they have a trial.
Yeah.
He gets fucking sent, him and Bones, because Bones is over there with him trying to save the Chancellor.
He's a doctor.
Yeah, he's a doctor. And I think it was kind of implied that the Klingons don't have doctors on their ships, basically. It's kind of like, so he's like the only doctor in fucking who knows how far. So yeah, they sentence them both to like that Rura Pente or whatever.
It's basically planet Siberia.
Yeah.
Pretty much, and he's supposed to just die on that planet. Him and Bones,
Yeah, and they managed to, like,
There's
I think
even
it was
like
Spock.
a plot to have them be killed there.
Yeah. And I think Spock had put like a little tracking device on
Yeah, because
Kirk.
he's cool like that.
And so they're able to come and get them.
Yeah.
And it's like this race against the clock to find out not only where the new negotiations are being held, but to get there because they know
it's a
there's
big secret, because obviously people are getting assassinated and shit,
Yeah, and they also know there's another plot to kill the Federation president, and also they're still trying to unravel the mystery of who from the Enterprise, because that's the whole thing. They were like,
oh yeah,
we fired like, we show that we fired 2 torpedoes. The computer says we did, but Scotty's like, dude, I'm looking at the inventory. We've got every torpedo accounted for. So there's this big mystery
Who's
over
the rat?
Yeah, who's like affecting all this, and it's Kim Cattrall is in it as, I can't remember her character's name, but she's like another protege of Spock. Yeah. Just like Lieutenant Savick was. Although Savick was, she was out of the movies after. She was in Star Trek 4, and that was the end of it, I think. She was in the very beginning of A Voyage Home. Yeah, and she stayed on Vulcan. She stayed on there. And they left. But so now you have this new protege, and I can't remember her character's name, which I will look up here. Valeris. Lieutenant Valeris.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I never would have got that. But...
So she's part of the plot, along with all these other fucking people.
Humans, Klingons.
Yeah, humans, Klingons, fucking
dogs and
Vulcans.
cats living together.
Yeah. So, and you have cool part, like, I mean, you have the part with Uhura trying to figure out how to speak Klingon to these guys whenever they roll into Klingon space, and they're like...
Kirk. Then they've got to, like, race back, like you said, to these negotiations. That's where, like, it just builds up to a point. Because they're trying to get back to that planet. Yeah. One, find out where the fuck it is, where it's happening.
Which it turns out it's at Khitomer, Camp Khitomer, which is cool because Camp Khitomer is mentioned a decent amount throughout. They always talk about the Khitomer Accords, which is almost like, we talk about like the Treaty of Versailles, the what do they call them, the Kyoto Accords and all that. That's kind of cool that they, deal. That was the big treaty between the Federation and the Klingon Empire to like end hostilities, which carries over into the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, which gets a little shaky in Deep Space Nine. Voyager, even, they talk about it and discuss it. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, that was something that became part of the wider Star Trek universe that was referenced a lot throughout the other shows. So yeah, I think. In my opinion, Undiscovered Country it's not as, I like Wrath of Khan better, but man, close second. Yeah. For me, personally.
I don't know. Oh, damn, it's tough.
I could easily see somebody saying Undiscovered Country is their favorite.
You're right, it's just good. And then that's the last one.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of neat even too. That movie that's the only Star Trek movie, that's the first one I'd ever seen in theaters. Gosh, I'm trying to remember, how old was I when that movie came out? I think I might have been like 12 or something. Was it 91? Yeah. So maybe I was 11 or something.
I didn't see it in theaters, but I was 91. Old enough to be like, hey, it's coming out on HBO this Saturday. I need to get home at 7.
Yeah, my whole family, we were living in Hawaii, my whole family went to go see it. Mm-hmm. We all enjoyed it, all loved it. And I thought one of the cool things about it was that it was pretty clear that was the last movie for the original crew, because when it ends, they all, like, instead of having, like, just showing their names, it was all like them signing their names. Yeah. Like putting like their final signature on it. I was like, that's fucking awesome, dude. It was just cool, man. It was, and then it ends with that great line from Kirk whenever they finally all get back on the Enterprise, and it's like, Chekhov's, like, they kind of say their farewells to Sulu, and Sulu's like, see y'all. Yeah. And Chekhov's like, where to, Captain, and Kirk's like, second star to the right, straight on till morning. Yeah. And then they don't even go warp, dude. They just coast off right into that star, that light of that star that kind of, it just disappears eventually. The Enterprise you can't see it anymore. I was like, man, dude, they ended it so well.
Like I said, 6 movies, man. That's pretty.
In my opinion, only one that I think.
What other franchise goes on like they used to do that a lot, but nowadays they don't, like. They do 3. Okay, that's it. And they reboot it or rehash it, or they move on to something else.
Yeah. The Next Generation had, 4 movies? Yeah. And then this will be the third of the new Star Trek.
It kind of seems like once they hit the aughts, like Lord of the Rings, that type of shit, they started doing that. It's like everything's 3 movies now. 3 movies.
Yeah.
Movies. They don't do Rocky 8 anymore. I mean, that's still going, but like through the 80s, like that's why they made 5 of them right there through that whole decade.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I think some franchises try to do it, but I guess the bigger point is, how many have done it, and, you know, this is just my opinion, overall, been solid.
Yeah.
Because I'm fine with the motion picture. The only low point, really, the big low point, is 5.
Yeah.
So you only have one, in my opinion, low point.
And it's not horror. Like I said, it's not...
Yeah, I don't think it's a
not
turd
like
of a
so
movie. I
goddamn
just
bad you don't even want to mention it.
Exactly. I just think it's the weakest of the movies they made.
It is what it is.
Yeah, so...
I mean, look how long we spent just talking about the originals.
Yeah. Spent quite a
We'll
quite
come
a while.
back.
Which I
You
guess...
go see the new movie in theaters? Or?
I think I want to. Like, I was a bit skeptical when I saw the first trailer because I was like, gosh,
I was so pumped about the second movie coming out, but it got delayed because I was going to go see it at the Warren, and that's when that tornado hit more. 2013.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, well, fuck.
That changed. Yeah, that changed
Never
things.
mind, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I ended up seeing it, but it was just kind of like, it was just different. I was like, oh, man. It was
Yeah,
supposed to be this
I
big
don't-
event, you know, and like,
I don't
having to
think
deal
Into
with people's
Darkness
lives
was
being
bad.
lost
I
and
just
shit.
kind of, I don't know. You know? I don't
that's
know.
something. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about those later.
We might mix that up with the Generation movies because I mean, there's not as many of them, and
And I'm not going to be anywhere near as, like...
enthusiastic.
I
about
don't
it.
really care for the
Yeah.
the next generation
That's
films.
probably something we could do. Is just like, you know, we'll do the shows on their own, and then we could do just the newer movies.
Yeah, we've got about,
thing.
10... We've got about 10 days, so I'd say if we do another episode in a week, maybe we just knock out the rest of the movies to get current, and then call that an episode, and then maybe... I like how we're just planning an episode during an episode. It's fucking, we're getting
how
meta.
we roll, dude.
We're getting meta.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I at least for now, I think we're probably done with this one.
Yeah, this is it. I got to roll anyway, so...
Yeah, the biggest thing I can say to everybody who might be listening to this is if you haven't seen these movies, they are all on fucking Netflix.
Yeah.
And so are all the series.
Yeah.
If you want to watch Next Generation, the original show, Deep Space Nine, Voyager,
There's a lot to
Enterprise,
watch.
they're all on there. And we're going to be talking about them.
Yeah.
So, give them a look. I'll go over our contact details again. ufppodcast@gmail.com, at ufppodcast on Twitter, and Unidentified Flying Podcast on Facebook. So unless you got anything else...
No, that's
We didn't talk about the Durant thing, but fuck it. We'll talk
That's its
maybe
own
next time.
goddamn episode, dude.
Durant going to the Warriors.
Yeah.
Whatever. But we'll talk about that later. So, anyway, I guess until next time, this has been Drew, and
This has been Brad.
you've been listening to the Unidentified Flying Podcast. Light years ahead of the curve.